have to do this review. I want to do this review. I've been wanting to do it for a while, but our relationship is really putting a stress on my work for the channel and trying to bring more Horror Nights content to the viewers, and this relationship's putting a strain on that. And you know what? It's not me, it's you. I'm sorry. Hey fellow Horror Night fans and Universal fans alike, I'm the Crazy Englishman and welcome back to another episode of Halloween Horror World. I do apologize for my absence. There's been a lot going on since I've been back from Hollywood, but I wanted to get this review to you guys and my thoughts on Halloween Horror Nights 15, so let's jump right into it. So I'll be going through the pros of the event first and then cons. So let's start with pros. Halloween was a highlight this year. The maze was fantastic. Some of the best scares at the events for a long time. It was one of the coolest design mazes in my opinion. It really captured the feel of that John Carpenter film, and it definitely one-upped the one in 2009. I thought this was fantastic, and it was a really great way to really bring Michael back into the limelight, especially under the news that the new film will be coming out hopefully either next year or the year after, depending on how much delays that they're putting in. But the maze was great. The scares were spot on. I remember going through the maze and really feeling the presence of Michael. I think one of the coolest things on this maze was the audio. The audio was awesome. It literally felt like Michael was behind me. The way the audio tricked the audience was great. You would be walking into one room and you would hear Michael breathing out of the corner of your ear, and he would come out from the front. It was fantastic the way they set up some of these scares. So that is definitely a highlight for this year. Also, Crimson Peak. Crimson Peak was great. It was not a lot of people had seen the film up until that point. I mean, up until that point, I went 3 times to the event. The film wasn't out, so what we got was basically a trailer for the film in live format, and it felt almost like an original maze. And I say that because, having not seen the film, I didn't know what to expect. So going through the maze was a complete surprise, and it was great the way the scare actors moved and the performances were spot on. And I say this, this is one of the few mazes that has unique scare actor kind of movements. Because in my experience of going to Horror Nights, most of the actors are very stagnant in the way they do their roles. They'll jump out, scare you, maybe do a gesture, but move back. The cool thing is, with the Crimson Peak ghosts, they came out almost jittering, like they're trying to move their bones, or lack of, sort of spiritual bones, but they were like jittering around, and then they would do this cool whisper, like shh kind of movement before moving back, and it was great. Like they hit every scare spot on. Even when, this is the cool thing, because when you're going through the maze and it's congested, it tends to ruin the experience. The congestion in Crimson Peak, and one of the times we went through it, actually wasn't bad. But even though there was a bit of a build-up because people were afraid of going, the ghosts were so good at their job that they scared everyone multiple times. Even though they knew they were there, the way they moved and that, it was unusual and unique, and it worked really well. So Crimson Peak, definitely a highlight. Actually, I was surprised by this. The Walking Dead. Now, The Walking Dead would be in my mixed category. It had a lot of pros. It was the longest maze Horror Nights has ever done, and it felt it. It felt like a long maze, and now it suffers a little bit for it. So I'll be talking about the pros of this maze first, and then the cons in the cons part of this video. But let's talk about the pros of it. The length made this maze feel like a journey. It didn't feel like it almost just stopped immediate. The sets they were just awesome because they did a great job at hiding where the scare actors were. In most mazes, when you walk through, you kind of get an experience. If you've gone as many times as I have, and other people who've gone for so many years, you kind of start getting a sixth sense of where the scare actors are going to show up. But in this maze, the placements actually got me to jump, which was great. They had surrounded with so many dummy zombies that you didn't really know which one was real, and I love that because I love misdirection. I love the fact that they disguised the real zombies in with a lot of these walker mannequins, and it just worked to the great advantage. The set, I would have to say, was one of my favorites. Was definitely the van lineup, because you felt like you were on a loading bay, and go through the van and have all these walkers attacking you, pushing you out the maze was just great. It got a lot of scares and it worked really well. AVP was a lot of fun. Not much to really say in terms of AVP because it's basically a retread of last year. That's not to say it was bad, because they added some more scare actors, and for me, going through the first time and never experiencing last year's, it was a joy. I'm a huge fan of aliens, so getting to get close up with these xenomorphs, it was fantastic. It just blew my mind, and I loved it. But saying that, the only thing that's going against it is the fact that it is a retread of last year. That's not a bad thing, but nothing too new in that regard, especially for people who've gone to last year's event. The Terror Tram actually this year was a lot of fun. Now, in past years we've had Walking Dead. This year is The Purge, and they just seem to have a lot of fun with this. Now, you can probably see that in some of the footage I took of the Terror Tram. The actors they gleefully had a lot of fun with this. I think because they didn't really have to. They got to kind of be themselves if they were psychopaths. I know that sounds strange. I know. But the way it seems, it's like they put a lot of energy into their characters. The way they moved. I think they got a little bit more freedom in the way their characters kind of interacted with the audience, and the scare acting was a lot of fun. Not necessarily too scary, but a lot of fun, and that's what I look for in definitely a Terror Tram, and it's one of the best, I think. The other was the Purge scare zone in the backlot sets, because having the Purge in this kind of environment among the city, it worked really well. It got a lot of scares, and it was a lot of fun to see other people getting jumped out of. And with the fog, it kind of it wiped your view of what was coming up. So that really set up some really good scares, and it paid off very well. I do have to mention two scare zones that worked really well and very unique, and a lot of fun. The Exterminators scare zone was awesome. It was very unique. The design of the characters were very imaginative, with these half-human, half-vermin rats and cockroaches walking around trying to kill people. It just looked really cool. The one character that really took my attention was the Roach Man, who was on stilts. Definitely got a few scares there, and it worked really well. And he worked with other scare acting. You could see sometimes like scare acting was sometimes they're just individuals going after someone, but he worked really well with the other scare actors to herd different people around and set up scares. So huge kudos to the Exterminators crew. Core as well, the undead World War One soldiers was really cool to see. The sound, the sights, it made you immersed into this kind of environment. It was a lot of fun. The different design of the corpse soldiers, they were really gory, really cool, and they got a lot of scares. And usually that area of the scare zones every year is not really too frightening, but for a lot of people, I saw a lot of people getting scared, even guys getting jumped out. It was just great. So definitely kudos to that. Not much to say in regards to Dark Christmas. Definitely a retread of last year, but still a lot of fun. So let's talk about the cons. Now, there wasn't too many cons to this year's event. This is the end. I had my doubts, but I really held them back because I wanted to like this maze. It's only funny if you know what's going on in the maze. And they had these little videos set up from the film. But my dad, he went through, he came out and I asked him, did you enjoy it? And he said no, because I just don't understand what was going on. I mean, I get it, it's the end of the world, but I don't get half of these jokes. And that's understandable. He hasn't seen the film. This maze was catered mainly for people in the film. The beauty of like Crimson Peak or Insidious, it works because you don't really have to know the films to really enjoy them. They kind of set you in this world, and that's it. This Is the End was a big jumble. It really was. I mean, some of the reused sets were glaringly obvious. The best part of the maze was definitely Emma Watson. The Emma Watson actor, she did a fantastic job, so kudos to her. So really not too many cons. Like I said, with Walking Dead, let's talk about Walking Dead real quick. So some of the cons for the Walking Dead maze were too much space. And I know that sounds weird for a really long maze, but there's some really open areas in that maze where they could easily have put a scare actor in there, or kind of work that environment, maybe constrict it a little bit bigger but made it longer, and it would have worked better. I think there's some areas you just walk in and you're like, this is cool, where's the scare actors? And then you go up the ramp and then there's a scare actor at the end. But when you're walking in these huge environments, I get it, it's trying to be immersive, but it's glaringly obvious it's a tent. That's my only issue with it. Could they have done better? I don't know if it's budget or reasons, because I know this is the largest set that they've ever built, and there's some problematic issues with that, but that was definitely an issue because it was glaringly obvious in some places. Once you got near to the end of the maze, it started constricting a little bit and made the maze a lot more frightening, but near the beginning it was definitely open. It was not the greatest thing when you're trying to be scared or trying to scare yourself. So let's talk about Insidious as well. Insidious goes in the pros category. Definitely fantastic, but again, kind of a retread of 2013's event. Not a bad thing, because they added Chapter 3, and the Man Who Can't Breathe was in the maze. Now, unfortunately, and as much as I like 2013's event, that maze is definitely one of my favorites. This year, I can't say the same for Insidious Return to the Further. I'm not saying it's a bad maze. It was way better than This Is the End. But the underusage of the Man Who Can't Breathe was almost criminal. Let me explain that. A lot of the other characters were on ground level. They were face to face with a lot of the audience. Now, I believe there was only one time he was actually at ground level. The rest, he was up in the rafters trying to grab people. And that was an issue for me, because that he was a frightening character, but he was just left to the top. And to be fair, like, kind of like, unless you're really on nerve and you're not expecting it, it's really frightening. But for most of the time, I didn't really see him get a lot of scares. and there were like three, I believe, three or two that are up in the rafters, trying to grab down at people, and so that was a big issue. That was a big con for me, because of this character was, I thought, having seen the film, I thought, oh, this is going to be great, this is going to be frightening, but it didn't really utilize as well. Near the end, the finale was amazing. I loved the finale. It had all three of the characters all come out to chase you out the maze. Worked really well. And it took place in the seance room, and it was awesome. It was a great send-off, so I have to give it that. So Insidious was a bit of a pros and cons. So, what did I think of the maze? Definitely good. Definitely had some issues, but overall, it was okay. It was a lot of fun. I have to say that's the most important thing. As long as the audience is having fun, that's great. So yeah, let's go down. I'll rate all the mazes. So let's do it. So overall, what did I think about 15? Well, I thought the event was a lot of fun. Definitely a step up from some of the past years, and it was just a lot of fun. I mean, some of the maze choices were definitely fantastic. I mean, Crimson Peak, even though no one had at that time seen the film, was definitely a cool, unique, and interesting looking maze. Even Insidious, for some of its faults, was definitely a cool and enjoyable maze to go through. The whole transition of you going into the further as you reach this regular looking hallway, and suddenly the walls just disappear and there's candelabras. We need more like that at the event. We need more cool and immersive environments, and that's one of the things I love about Horror Nights, and that's why I love Universal. Because they do it so well. But in past years, we've seen kind of a faltering of this, where it's kind of easy to tell that you're in a tent maze. But it's things like what we've seen in Halloween with the audio tricks and the lighting and misdirections, and like I said, with Insidious, the hallway scene. It's things like that we really need to retain and keep at the event. So overall, 15. Out of 10, what would I give it? I'd give it an 8.5. Definitely one of the highlights of the past few years. Had some interesting mazes. Had a little hiccups. I mean, no attraction is perfect. No event is perfect. But this has definitely been one of the most enjoyable years. I am so glad I was privileged to go see it and travel out to the United States to see it. I'm glad that it just ended up really being a lot of fun. I was worried about some of the choices, but I ended up really enjoying the event. So what did you guys think of the event? Did you like it? Did you go to the Hollywood? Did you go to the Orlando event? Let me know in the comments below. Once again, I am really sorry I've been gone for a bit. But I'm hoping now that I've got a decent schedule and that I'll be able to bring out some more videos. The next video, by the way, guys, I managed to get some merchandise from Hollywood, as well as thanks to my good friends Neil, aka UK HHN, I was able to get some Orlando merch. So I'll be doing reviews of both, comparisons, and definitely some, I think, some interesting thoughts on some of the Hollywood stuff. I will not say if it was good or bad. So I will leave you with that. Let me know in the comments below, and if you like this video, please feel free to like and subscribe. And once again, I am sorry I've been gone a while. I know it's late November, but a lot has been going on in my life. But I'm hoping to go on and continue doing more Horror Night videos for you guys. I really appreciate your support of the channel, and I really appreciate your patience. So once again, big thank you to you all. So I'll see you guys in the next video. This is the Crazy Englishman, signing off.